Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. Welcome to our Zoom worship service here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Palouse. Let's begin by joining together for our words of welcome, our unison chalice lighting, and our sung affirmation. Please join in saying these words with me. Whoever you are, wherever you've come from, whatever your beliefs, whomever you love, and however bumpy your life's journey, know that you are welcome here.
Hi, I'm David Nelson.
I'm Nancy Nelson.
And I'm Kate Nelson.
In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung in every land by every tongue.
So good morning again. It is good to be here together. Today's service is a bit of a reflection service on the 10 Days of Kindness Challenge, which is something that we finished up on the 10th. It's something introduced by the Interfaith Association as a way of helping people manage their anxiety leading up to and then in the aftermath of the election. And it's been an interesting experience hearing back from folks what it was like for them to participate. And in particular, we have interviews with 3 people, all of whom bring deep insight and generosity of spirit to the conversation. So I know you will enjoy the service. So let's now go ahead and sing together. This is Now Let Us Sing.
Now let us sing,
Sing to the
sing, sing, sing. Now let us sing,
Sing to the
sing, sing, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing,
Sing to the
sing, sing, sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within.
And now I'd invite you to enter with me into a time of meditation or of prayer. In the words of the metta meditation, the Buddhist metta meditation, may we be filled with loving kindness. May we be whole. I return to this meditation time and time again throughout the course of my day. The practice of metta begins with offering unconditional love, unconditional acceptance to ourselves. So as I pray metta for myself, I remind myself that I am enough, that I'm held, that I'm worthy just the way I am. The second phase of metta invites us out into the people that we feel close to, the people that we feel connected to, our family, our friends. In this phase, I send loving kindness out to all of you, to my family, to my colleagues. And I imagine connections branching from those connections that are near and dear to my heart, to the people that they care about and the people that they care about. I imagine those connections as shining golden threads that connect my heart to other hearts in this network that expands and thickens until the entire globe is covered with a woven golden love. And then the next phase of metta involves offering up kindness, loving kindness to those we consider our enemy. This is not always an easy thing to do. People do things that are unkind. People do things that are thoughtless, that cause grave harm. But remembering that first step of loving myself, which also involves holding healthy boundaries, I try to embrace the people who differ from me, who behave in ways that I find inexplicable. I'm not always successful, and that's not the point. The point isn't to change the world. The point isn't to impact other people. The point is, the more I open, the more I soften, the more present I can be to joy and to peace. So as we rest together in the silence, I invite you to take comfort in the fact that you are at this moment being held in a community of people who do their best to practice kindness, not just in the 10 days around the election, but always. And held in that embrace, let yourself relax, let yourself soften, let yourself open. Not because being kind is something you should do, but because being kind, practicing kindness, is something that's inherently human. Practicing kindness is our legacy from our ancestors, and it's our promise to future generations. So let's rest now in the silence together.
Ready? There was a time I believed my life was over for me. There was a time I believed my life was over. I feel strong today, thanks to your help. I'll find my way, and I too will lend you a hand when you need one. Sometimes I get so down, I feel like this is the end. Like there's no way in hell I can get over this mountain. The sun has come out beyond the shadow of my doubt. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. There was a time I believed there'd be no love for me. There was a time I believed I'd get no loving. I feel love today, thanks to your help. I'll find my way, and I too will lend you a hand when you need one. Sometimes I get so down, I feel like this is the end. Like there's no way in hell I can get over this mountain. The sun has come out beyond the shadow of my doubt. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. There was a time I believed there'd be no money for me. There was a time I believed there'd be no money. I feel rich today, thanks to your help. I'll find my way, and I too will lend you a hand when you need one. Sometimes I get so down, I feel like this is the end. Like there's no way in hell I can get over this mountain. The sun has come out beyond the shadow of my doubt. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. There was a time I believed there'd be no peace for me. There was a time I believed there'd be no peace. I feel peace today, thanks to your help. I'll find my way, and I too will lend you a hand when you need one. Sometimes I get so down, I feel like this is the end. Like there's no way in hell I can get over this mountain. The sun has come out beyond the shadow of my doubt. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever.
Amen, and blessed be. So it all started in a conversation with the lay pastoral ministry team about how to support the church community in the days leading up to and following the election. Several folks remembered that in 2016, when we opened the church, we made prayer flags. We wrote loving messages on the sidewalk with colorful chalk. And this was in response to the negativity and hatred that we were witnessing in the course of the campaign. So they wondered, should we be prepared to do something similar this year? The conversation ranged widely, and of course, we talked a lot about the safety of gathering in person in the midst of a pandemic. We tried to guess the needs that people would have under different circumstances. We knew that not knowing the results of the election for several days was probably the most likely outcome, but it was pretty clear that depending on the outcome, people's needs would be different, and our response would need to be different as well. As we brainstormed ideas, someone, I think it was actually Ginger, said, I'm gonna need something concrete to do. I'm gonna need something physical and concrete to do. And that's when it hit me, we could have a kindness campaign. Committing to acts of kindness would give us something positive to focus on. It would spread goodwill, and it would help bring us into relationships with our friends and our neighbors. It just felt right. So the few days later, I brought it to the Interfaith Association. They were excited. They jumped right on board. And we launched the 10 Days of Kindness. 175 people locally participated. And it wasn't quite as interactive as I'd hoped. I think people felt shy, like sharing about their acts of kindness would be bragging or something. And I also know that some people sort of lost track of the kindness challenge in the stress of election week and the pandemic surge, both of which happened simultaneously. But thinking of those acts of kindness rippling out through our community kept me smiling all week. And I sincerely hope that I wasn't the only one. And actually, I know I wasn't the only one. I talked 3 people into participating in interviews with me about their experience doing the 10-day kindness challenge. And we recorded those interviews. So that's what I'm going to share with you this morning. The first interview is with Lisa Salisbury. I'm interviewing you because I know that you have been participating in the 10 Days of Kindness Challenge. And we know that doing kind things for people makes their lives better, but what I'm really thinking about for Sunday are the ways that doing kind things helps us feel better and helps improve our mood and our sense of agency. So I just have a couple questions along those lines. And the first one is, what was it that appealed to you about the 10 Days of Kindness Challenge, and what made you decide to participate?
A couple of things. I mean, I like to think that I tried to live my life to be kind to other people every day, not just, for special challenges. But there was definitely an element of accountability for me in participating in this event. And so I really liked the idea of thinking about something specific that I was going to do every day for somebody. So that was really appealing. And then what was the second part of the question?
Oh, yeah, I think you answered the question.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a part 2.
I think it was just what made you decide to participate. So
yeah, just some accountability and really having to think very intentionally about what was going to be that kind of thing that I would do each day.
And did the timing have any impact on you, having it around the election?
Yes, yeah, definitely, because the first kind thing I chose to do was very much in the spirit of trying to reach out to people with whom I have pretty significant differences of opinion around the election, and wanting to create a space, or at least an opening, for us to be able to have a connection in a way that wasn't related to politics and our differences of opinions, but was more related to just being compassionate, neighbors. So I've also felt a little overwhelmed, I think, as many of us have, with the number of unkind things that people are doing to one another at this time. And so it seemed like a good opportunity to counter a little bit of that, and to make a deliberate choice to move away from some of that and into something that felt warmer and more compassionate.
So, and maybe it was the one that where you reached out to your neighbors, but what was your favorite act of kindness? What was the most fun, or the one you enjoyed the most?
Well, that one was fun because I had a big homework project that was due and I didn't want to do it. And so that's kind of been my go-to stress reliever when I don't want to do homework, is to go into the kitchen and bake. And so we gathered a lot of huckleberries and blackberries this fall, and I have a freezer full of them, and pretty much every weekend I've been making bread and muffins and cobblers and other kinds of desserts. And so I just thought, I'm going to make several batches of bread and give it to all my neighbors. And so that's what I did. I made some loaves of huckleberry bread and blackberry bread and cut them into slices and put them in dishes and took them around to all my neighbors. And which was nice. And they were all, surprised and touched. But I think my favorite part of that was going to my one next door neighbor, and it just happened to be his birthday. It was his 72nd birthday. And he was so moved. He was just so moved that, I had come over and offered him these baked goods that I had made on his birthday. And to him, he said it just felt like I was celebrating him, and that was really special. And he was visibly touched by that. And so it made me reflect, gosh, what a simple thing I did, so easy. And yet that will be something that he probably remembers for a while, and that will be a good memory for him. And so that made me feel very joyful, and also I think maybe kind of sparked a little connection, where previously there had just really been difference, and so yeah, that was really moving to me to see how powerful such a simple gesture could be.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that sort of answers the next question I had, which was, how did it make you feel, and did it change your perspective or attitude?
Yeah, doing things for other people and acts of kindness has always made me feel really good. And a few years ago, the Buddhist nun Pema Chodron came to Moscow, and I went to a talk that she gave at the 1912 Center, and she said something that really resonated with me. She said, that we shouldn't look for recognition in acts of kindness because the reward is in the doing. And I just felt that was absolutely, she nailed it. That's absolutely hands down. The reason why I do these things is because they bring me a tremendous amount of joy to be able to do something kind. And I think I'm, I think a lot about people's love languages and how they express those kind things. And I acknowledge that my love languages are sometimes different than those of the people for whom I'm trying to do kind things. And so I try not to feel offended or sad if they're not as receptive as I would hope to the things that I do for them. But I view that as an opportunity to learn their love language and to learn how they express kindness and giving and compassion. But yeah, for me, it's always just been just a tremendous source of joy to do things for other people.
One metaphor that's been really helpful to me is to think of it, and a friend gave this to me years and years ago, to think of the act of kindness as being like a delivering milk. Mm. Back in the days when there was a milk delivery service, and you set it on the doorstep. And then you have no attachment to whether it goes in or not.
I like that. That's really good. And I think sometimes I've definitely recognized that things that I've done for other people maybe don't necessarily hit the mark as completely as I would like them to, but I think also just that gesture can be incredibly powerful. And I certainly receive acts of kindness with that spirit. I'm always incredibly moved when someone takes that little step beyond, to reach out to me and connect with me. And it really, the gesture itself is the most important thing. It's what they actually do for you that doesn't really matter that much. But just the fact that they thought about you and that they reached out, for me is what's very profound about those simple acts.
Well, as one of the many recipients of some of your acts of kindness,
Oh,
I just want you to know that they definitely matter.
mhm.
Um, Make it into my heart. You know, when you deliver the milk bottle on my porch, it goes straight in. I'm so grateful to you for taking this time to be with me and I'm so grateful to you for being a part of my life.
Aw, well, likewise. And I can assure you, as I'm sure many people have told you, that the acts of kindness that you deliver have ripples far beyond the people that you intend them most immediately for. So thank you. Thank you for being in my life.
So it turns out we're not the only ones practicing kindness right now. Foothills congregation in Fort Collins, Colorado, has launched something they call a kindemic. And they're a bigger church with more staff and it's more sophisticated. You know how they have the virus trackers where there's outbreaks of virus? Well, Foothills now has a kindness tracker. And I've been thinking about how we can piggyback on that. And it's a lot more fun looking at the kindness tracker than it is looking at the pandemic tracker right now. And, you know, I think intuitively we know that the response to unkindness, the skillful response to unkindness is kindness, and, you know, that it brings us together. But part of it is that there are actual chemical reasons that engaging in kindness helps us maintain our own mental health. You know, I love it when I get to geek out on brain chemistry. So I dug into the studies on kindness, acts of kindness, positive social interactions, and it turns out that there are three hormones that are released when we choose to be kind, when we are deliberately kind. The first is oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is known as the cuddle hormone. It's released when we're physically close to another person or an animal. So that lack of hugs during the pandemic might be leading to a shortage of oxytocin for some of us. And what oxytocin does is it helps us feel more trusting, friendlier, and more generous. It also lowers our blood pressure. And blood pressure, of course, goes up when we're feeling anxious or angry. Now, the second hormone that's released when we are deliberately kind is dopamine. Dopamine operates in our brain and generates feelings of euphoria. It makes us feel joy. So you've heard of runner's high. Turns out there's something documented that's called helper's high. When we are kind to others, we get a boost in our mood. We become happier. And last but not least, acts of kindness cause our bodies to release extra serotonin. Now, serotonin is the hormone that regulates our moods. It also helps us sleep better and it improves our digestion. So being kind levels us out, grounds us. So studies also show that it doesn't matter who we're kind to. They did a blind study where, you know, some people were asked to be kind to people they were close to. Some were asked to be kind to family members. Some were asked to be kind to themselves. And then, of course, there was a control group. And it turns out that all of those people saw an increase in their oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, as did another group, which actually was just invited to witness acts of kindness. So all they did was watch other people being kind, and that was enough to give them that boost. Now, all of which is to say, we evolved to be kind. We evolved in such a way that kindness gives us a survival advantage. We are healthier, we are happier, and we are more productive when we practice kindness on a regular basis. Our next interview is with Ryan Urey, who wrote the beautiful essay that we sent out on Election Day. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the 10 Days of Kindness campaign. And you know, you confessed that your participation wasn't perfect, but you did choose to participate in the 10 Days of Kindness. And what was it about the campaign that appealed to you?
Oh, well, I did initially sign up with the best of intentions. Knew, like everyone else, that right around the election was going to be a very divisive and angry time, and lots of uncertainty and lots of fear. And acts of kindness seemed like the perfect, well, antidote slash distraction, a way to stop focusing on everything that's going wrong and just to enjoy the empowerment of actually getting out and making things a little bit better. I couldn't think of any better solution to the fear that I knew was just going to be washing over all of us at that point. So it seemed like just a very life affirming response. No matter how the election turned out, we can still be there for each other and still do good in the world. So that was the motivation I went in with.
Well, and what were your favorite acts of kindness? What were the ones that you enjoyed doing the most?
So when I first signed up, I thought I'd, each day have my one thing and check it off and keep good records and all of that. And then I got to about day 7 or 8 and I remembered, oh yeah, I was supposed to be doing that thing. I think like a lot of people, I sort of had a post-election hangover and got very distracted. But when we got to the end of it, I looked back and I was like, well, did I do anything kind at all in the last 10 days? And it turned out I'd actually done a lot of acts of kindness and without really even thinking about it. On election night itself, I figured out all the software to put on a game night for the congregation, for people who didn't want to just be sitting there stressing over election results. That was a really great one. Another day, went out and helped a friend fix his stovepipe so they could get their heater working again for their house. Took the time to write a letter to my incarcerated pen pal. And also, probably some people in the church read a letter I wrote, put in the paper, and also shared with the congregation, just trying to work through the feelings and facing the fears associated with the election. And even though I initially wrote that for my own needs to face my own fears so I could, sleep again, it ended up being an act of kindness when I was able to share with other people, and I received a lot of really positive responses from that. And then even just small things, like what was great about doing the 10 days of kindness wasn't so much, making a list and checking things off, but realizing all the little kindnesses built into my everyday, like taking the time to sort out the recyclable plastics that you can only take in 1 day a month, and setting the bugs outside gently instead of crushing them, and getting up with our toddler so my wife can sleep in. It's there turned out to be a lot more, and it's I don't know if I did more or less because of the 10 days of kindness, but I was certainly a lot more mindful of it.
Cool. So, how does it, and I'm sure everybody knows what it feels like to be kind, but I'm just curious, what does it feel like for you to choose kindness? How does it shift your head, your heart, even your body? How does it feel in your body?
It really, it's a grounding kind of thing that I when I'm doing something kind, I know that my actions matter in that moment, and that I'm not worried about, am I doing the right things? Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? How's it all going to turn out? Like there's definitely a power in it, and the fear and uncertainty also go away, all those negative emotions, because in that moment I'm taking action. I'm doing what I can to make the world around me a little better. I'm connecting with other people, and I I mean, I feel better about myself, but not in like a selfish way. Like I'm going to go out and do something for someone else so I can get that burst of endorphins. It's more like coming back into a place of feeling right, just feeling like I fit, feeling balanced again. So when I do those good things, I guess it puts me at peace with the world around me, that we harmonize again. I don't feel so detached.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if some of you are feeling stretched and stressed in these times. I know that I am, and I don't even have small kids at home. So I asked myself the question, when I'm feeling tapped out and exhausted, how do I find the time and energy to give to others, and why bother? So I want to start by talking a little bit about that feeling of being tapped out and exhausted. We could call it burnout. We could call it compassion fatigue. After 7 months of pandemic, we could also call it crisis fatigue, which is defined as a human response to unrelenting stress that can cause a person to feel physically numb or tired. Anyone else been experiencing numbness in their extremities? Anyone else been feeling especially tired these days? Now, I feel like we have had trauma layered on top of trauma and loss piled on top of loss, certainly since March, but really, I think it started long before that. I feel like my entire life has been lived in the shadow of things like global climate change, the partisan divide, and the rupture that it's caused in families and communities, the epidemic of gun violence, war and famine, and of course, the enduring harm caused by hundreds of years of systemic racism, sexism, and homophobia. The whole big long list of everything that's wrong with the world. And 2020 just keeps piling it on. So, how do we muster the time and energy to add a kindness practice to our lives? And the answer lies in that second question: why bother? Kindness, it turns out, is the antidote to crisis fatigue and burnout, because it starts with being kind to ourselves. That thing that I've been saying, that self-care is an act of resistance. When we're kind to ourselves, we set boundaries. There's a difference between being nice and being kind. And sometimes our attempts to be nice wind up being unkind to ourselves and to others. So when we're kind, we release unrealistic expectations. We resist the temptation to perfection. We let who we are be enough. We let who the other person is be enough. We give ourselves and one another the gift of unconditional acceptance, unconditional love. And as we turn our kindness outward toward others, we generate two other things that have been shown to help people prevent or recover from burnout. We gain a supportive social network and a sense of agency. When we feel like we are connected to others, when we're around friends, people we love, people who love us, people who we know share our values, the heaviness that is the result of crisis fatigue, it starts to lift, and we find a little bit more room for energy and lightness and joy. And then, as Ryan said, when we're doing something that we know makes a difference, we get an injection of hope. That's that sense of agency. We remember that what we do matters, and that hope gives us the strength that we need to keep on keeping on. I have one last video that I want to share with you. This is an interview with Jamie Derrick, who is pretty much an expert on kindness.
Well, first, thank you for agreeing to talk with me. And secondly, what was it that made you choose to participate in the 10 Days of Kindness Challenge?
Well, I'm dedicated to kindness. It's actually kind of a spiritual practice for me. And so the opportunity to join in community and do that was really exciting. And I wanted to be able to hear what other people were doing and, just kind of join together with other people around it. So that was the reason.
A little disappointed that people were so shy.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I mean, I think there is a little piece of it came up for me. I don't mind. I love sharing about it, actually, because I think it's almost as good to hear about it as to do it in a way. Like, it's uplifting to hear about what other people do. But it can be performative. It can feel performative. And, like the humility around doing kind things, I think I don't know, there's a little thread of that in there, I think.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So what were your favorite acts of kindness?
Well, because I'm like really being careful around COVID, I wasn't around that many people. So I was giving to community because it's like one of the things that I can do. So around the election, I was able to do some stuff. Well, just really broadly, I created a website that had supports, mindfulness supports around the election, and I just advertised it widely and made it available, and lots and lots and lots of people visited it. So that was really, it felt good to do that and to be able to use my skills in a way that was helpful during a really hard time. So that felt good. Yeah. Another one is just my family. My kids live with me, and just waking up in the morning and making them their favorite breakfast before they get up so that it's waiting for them when they get up. And it just feels really sweet, fun to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I made apple cinnamon scones for my family this morning.
Oh, that sounds delicious on a snowy day like today. Oh my gosh.
Right? Yeah. So what I'm really focusing on is how it changes us to engage in acts of kindness. So I'm wondering, how did it feel to do this? And did it change your perspective? Did it change your attitude? Did you feel something shift in you?
Yeah. Well, I've told you this before, like I dedicated myself to a Be Kind Always practice 10 years ago. So, and I'm committed to it. So I don't feel like this had an enormous impact on me. But it has an impact, and that's why I do it. So I always feel this sort of sense of my heart opening. I feel just less disconnected from other, like I feel a part of this human community when I can find within myself some kind of generosity of giving. It's especially good for me when I'm not feeling generous, like when I kind of do it anyway, right? Like it opens my heart, and I love that feeling. It rehumanizes me. Yeah. So I did have those kind of experiences, and have, since I started doing the practice myself. Like I started the practice because I was depressed, and I felt like people were like not kind enough, and I was sort of like wanting people to be kind. And then when I started doing my practice, I noticed that I was feeling better, and it wasn't because anybody else was changing. It was because I was changing. And I was finding ways to like view people and interact with people in a way that was like, it's the person I am, and it's the person I want to be. So it changed my entire life. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. So it's not always easy to be kind, right?
Oh no, and I don't always do it either. Like probably all of us like have our moments, but yeah, it's not always easy.
So what are some of would you be willing to share a moment or two when it was hard to be kind and you found a way to do it anyway?
Yeah, sure. Just trying to think about which one. Well, I do a driving practice. I'm not driving a lot now, but like, people they sometimes do really foolish things, or they're inconsiderate, and they cut you off or whatever. And historically I became of age as a driver in California. So I became sort of assertive, and like, whoa. And I found that like one of the kind things I could do is modify the way that I think about these other people and the way that I actually kind of speak to them. Not that it's happening directly, but it's happening kind of internally. So viewing them as like, oh, maybe number one, they didn't notice me instead of they're a jerk, or maybe they're having a really bad day. Something bad happened for them, and maybe they need to go more quickly than I do. So this way of just like kind of letting someone else have a space to be, quote, imperfect. Those kind of moments are some of my favorites, because it's like, then I go from being brittle and angry to being understanding I don't know, there's a feeling that goes along with that that's almost like, I don't know, it comes really close to being joy. I think it might be joy. And I feel like it's like there's a chemical reaction to it too. Like, I don't think it's just oh, I'm a good person. I think that my body's responding to this way of feeling connected to other people. So that's one. And then my students at the university, I mean, oh my gosh, I have so many students and they have so many problems and they lie to me about things sometimes, you know, to make up at work, or there's all these things that happen. And I do the same thing with them. I've decided, rather than ignore them or chastise them, or sometimes they share too much personally, like they're looking for someone to listen. I just try to receive them as like, you're a human who has a heart that's tender, and the reason that you're doing what you're doing is because it's the only way you can think of to take care of yourself. So I'm going to give back kind words. I'm going to hold my boundaries in ways that are important to me, but I'm going to treat you with as much kindness and respect as I can. And I'm going to help you if it's possible for me to do that. I'm going to do that. And those gestures actually bring me great joy, because I have a lot of them. So it feels like it's an email practice, you know, or text or whatever they're doing. It's like, can I hold them as a kind and deserving human being, even when they're being annoying and inappropriate, and I know they're lying to me, like sometimes. And those moments are really hard to do. I don't know if that's what you were asking. I don't know if you wanted one of those moments when I didn't do it, actually.
No, actually, that's exactly what I wanted.
Okay, all right. Because I have those moments too, but they're not quite as interesting, I don't think. But there's always a cognitive part to it. Like I'm talking myself through a perspective, which is to remember they're as human and deserving as I am. And if I can move from that place, I think more naturally am kind. And then I feel that in myself, like I feel my own humanity. And I feel part of a community instead of like separate from the community.
Amen and blessed be. Thank you.
Author Henry James has said 3 things in human life are important. The first is to be kind. The second is to be kind. And the third is to be kind. So sometimes I feel like a little bit of a broken record, like Henry James, coming back to this theme over and over and over again. But the truth is that I think practicing kindness is like practicing anything else. We need to come back to it again and again and again. In part because those little hits that we get of oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin are really, really small. So we need lots of them, especially in these crazy times. But more seriously, I think it's like any other habit. We have to work at it. When things get busy and it slides, we have to recommit. We have interior barriers to it, little voices that tell us that we're being naive or we're being taken advantage of, or, you know, if we keep giving, you know, and giving and giving, you know, there's not gonna be anything left for us. Voices of scarcity. And, you know, that's all a part of the journey, is fighting through those voices and recommitting and recommitting to the practice again and again and again. And this journey that we're on, this journey of kindness practice, it's going to last our whole life. So when you are feeling tired, be kind. And when you are angry or irritated or frustrated, turn toward kindness. And if you're feeling scared and anxious about the future, kindness really will help. If you're grieving, if you're feeling depressed, be especially kind in those moments. And when we don't know what else to do, the way my lay pastoral ministers and I felt in the days as we had this conversation heading into the election, when you don't know what else to do, we can always turn toward kindness, knowing that turning toward kindness involves turning toward joy and toward peace, toward interconnection, interdependence, a healthy interdependence, toward a better future. So be it, and blessed be. And now let's sing together when our heart is in a holy place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, that our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, that our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, that our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
So, and just to prove that this is really who we are, our closing reading is from a 19th century Unitarian minister and writer, Ralph Waldo Emerson. This is his piece on friendship. We have a great deal more kindness than is ever spoken. In spite of all the selfishness that chills like east winds the world, the whole human family is bathed with an element of love like a fine ether. How many persons we meet in houses whom we scarcely speak to, whom yet we honor and who honor us. How many we see in the street or sit with in church, whom, though silently, we warmly rejoice to be with. Read the language of these wandering eye beams. The heart knoweth. The effect of the indulgence of this human affection is a certain cordial exhilaration. In poetry and in common speech, the emotions of benevolence and complacency which are felt toward others are likened to the material effects of fire. So swift, or much more swift, more active, more cheering are these fine inward irradiations. From the highest degree of passionate love to the lowest degree of goodwill, they make the sweetness of life. Please join in our sung benediction, There is a Love. Let's say these words to embody the flame as we blow out our chalices. We extinguish this chalice that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again. Hopefully you're fortified for another week. Go forth and be the kind, beautiful, amazing, loving, generous, supportive community and individuals that you are. I miss you and I love you. Go in peace